Thank you very much, Jason. So, welcome to ChatGPT versus Claude versus Google Gemini. I want to give a special thanks to CPA Academy because these are webinar series that are not being sponsored. I'm not paying to deliver this. No one's paying CPA Academy to do this. CPA Academy and we feel that this type of content is vital. It's extremely important for our profession because our profession is changing. A lot of these changes are not driven by us, they're driven by external forces, and understanding how AI changes our work today and how it will change the work for the future is fundamental. Now, I want you to think of this webinar as a combination between a combination of the past year and a half that I've been doing multiple webinars in CPA Academy of all different levels. So everything sort of built up. Some of you might be watching this webinar or this webinar series or watching me talk about AI for the very first time. Just for the fun of it, put in the Q&A first time. If it's the first time you're watching any webinar about AI that I've done in CPA Academy ever, just put in the Q&A first time just to kind of get an idea. But I want to preface that this is going to be a bit more advanced content. We are going to be working on the paid versions of all of these AI tools, the paid version of ChatGPT, the paid version of Claude, the paid version of Google Gemini, because I'm going to be showing some of the stuff that I do in my practice today, the stuff that we are actually experimenting with or playing with. And I use the paid versions of all these tools because the paid versions do not use the data that we put in there to train their model. Okay, so the biggest concern that happened with all these AI platforms when they first came out was, hey, what about privacy? What about my private client data? What about all these situations where I have personal identifiable information in the documents or whatever I'm deciding to put into the platform? And am I being a good accountant? Am I being a good protector of my client's data by putting information in there? So the most important thing is you have to work with the AI platforms that specifically, explicitly do not use the data you put in there to train their model, because I will probably most likely be encouraging you to throw bank statements in there, P&L and balance sheet in there, throw actual accounting data in there so it can help you to the process of analyzing it. So that's the most important preface that I wanted to set up front. The other piece is on the second slide of the handouts. There's links to all the archive webinars, or at least the last 5 most current ones. So if you walk out of this hour and a half saying, "Holy crap, that was so advanced," and I've only played with ChatGPT once or twice, or maybe I don't even know how to log in with ChatGPT, maybe I don't even know what ChatGPT is, or whatever it happens to be, you might need to kind of sort of come back and watch these webinars prior to kind of give you some context. So again, just wanted to preface this, and it will be a more advanced sort of thing. We're going to hit the ground running. Now, table of contents for today. I'll talk about myself briefly. I'll talk about my conference called Reframe, and I just talked about the webinar series. We'll talk about a tool that I created basically to compare the AI models, and for me to just kind of know where the models are at all times, so I'm sort of highly aware of it. Now, we're going to start with ChatGPT, and I'm going to cover 2 new things that ChatGPT added. So the 2 most advanced things. One is called the new O1 model with Canvas, and I'll explain what that means. And then I'll talk about Search GPT and why OpenAI bought chat.com, and I'll kind of explain that. Then we're going to talk about Claude. Claude is Anthropic's, the name of the company is Anthropic's version of the AI chatbot that competes with ChatGPT. I'll explain the very obvious differences between the two. There are situations where I like Claude better than ChatGPT, and I'll explain that. And then what I think is sort of the sleeping giant that's going to emerge, which is Google's versions of ChatGPT. So Google's had taken a very long time to kind of enter the game. I think Google has pretty much been sort of watching, behind the scenes. They've been kind of seeing what everybody's doing. And then Google has the ultimate thing that no one else has, which is Google is Google. They have the ultimate database of all of the world's knowledge, pretty much, or at least a big part of it, plus archive of 20 years worth of web data. So when the sleeping giant Google comes along and also integrates with all the other Google assets, you're going to actually be very pleasantly surprised of what Google can do now. And Google just got started. And then I'll answer Q&As, maybe at the end or maybe throughout. We'll see kind of how it goes. So that gives you a general idea. About myself, I'm a practicing accountant. I've been doing this for 16 years. I do QuickBooks work. That's kind of my big thing. I have a podcast. I founded an app called Right Tool. So if you're a Right Tool user, put in the Q&A, Right Tool, right, and with a big exclamation mark. We founded the app 2 years ago. And now I host these events called Reframe Accounting, which is how I deliver, some of these thoughts I have about where the profession is going. Now, next year, Reframe would be somewhere around November 2025. This is our in-person conference. It's a collaborative workshop up to 150 professionals. It's called Pricing with Confidence. It'll be hosted by myself and my brother Carlos. There's a wait list because we already have 150 deposits in. So around January of 2025, we'll release the specific location, the specific date, and then some of the people from the deposits will drop off, and then the people that are in the waiting list will send them immediate information so they can join us. This year, I did a 3-hour ChatGPT class on Reframe, and then the next 2 days, it was all about communications. Next year will be about pricing with confidence. The number one thing that we need as a profession is to have more confidence to price our value, the worth that we bring to the table. Okay, so let's go into ChatGPT. Let's start comparing the models. So I created this spreadsheet. It's a public spreadsheet. The link is in the slides. And basically every month or so, I go in there and I add any new features that ChatGPT or Claude or Grok, which is X's model, the Elon Musk company, Google Gemini, Facebook Beta, and I can actually go in there in all the details and minutia and kind of like give you a nice, really overall bird's eye on where all these models are doing, including the 3 that we're going to be talking about: ChatGPT, Claude, Google Gemini, but also what with Facebook is doing, what Microsoft Copilot is doing, Perplexity, and then what I call the industry-specific ones. And I will have future webinars where I'll just kind of focus on these: CPA Pilot, Spark, and Tax GPT. These are actually built by accountants for accountants, and they kind of narrow the context window. They're in some cases are more expensive than the other tools, but they're mostly focused around tax and things that accounting professionals need. So there will be a future webinar where I focus just on those. Maybe we'll get them to pay CPA Academy to sponsor these webinars. But for now, we have a really big spectrum, tons of options, and it's getting to the point where it becomes a little bit overwhelming to keep up. So hopefully that resource is useful for you. The other resource that has always been and probably will be is called the Chatbot Arena. My absolutely favorite tool to figure out which models I prefer to use. So what's really cool about Chatbot Arena is that you can compare side by side any 2 models you want. So for example, I want to compare the ChatGPT latest model versus, let's say, let me go up here and do, Claude's latest model or whatever it is. So I just go in there and pick the 2 models I want to test. And then I can come down here and ask the question. So I can ask a simple question like, how do I save on taxes for 2024 if I am a 500K income earner or something like that? Okay, so I'm asking a basic question. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a person that would ask that question. So would it be a client of yours, or would it be somebody in your team that kind of wants to know how to start thinking about having conversations of tax planning or whatever it happens to be? And then you actually see both models working simultaneously. So you see what ChatGPT answers on the left-hand side, and then you see what Claude answers on the right-hand side. Of course, you can go into ChatGPT and ask the question in ChatGPT. You can go in Claude and ask that. But what's really cool about this, you get head-to-head analysis. And then after you read both and figure out which one you like better, you come down here. That's the idea, that you vote and you say, you know what, A is better. So what happens is we have all these people that are comparing the 2 models, and then we go into what's called the leaderboard. And this, like, the people that curated this are just absolutely amazing. Like, I love the fact that this exists, because it just makes it very easy for me to know what I should be paying attention to. Okay. And what's really cool about this is based on how people rank the validity of these models when they compare uh, um, next to each other, you get a ranking of a crowdsourced ranking on how the users of these models believe are the most powerful, the most accurate, whatever happens to be. So you get to see every model here ranked. So right now, as of the date of this webinar, the ChatGPT 4.0 model, the latest one that released in September, it's actually the most powerful one. But you can actually go and say, you know what? I don't want overall. Maybe I want something that's more focused on, let's do it for coding. So which model is better for coding? And then again, based on the type of questions that people were asking, it will give you another ranking for coding. And coding is actually a very, very interesting use case for that. So for coding, they're saying the O1 Mini is the better model. And then you can obviously choose all these different options here for math. Okay, math, AI has been blamed for being bad at math for a very long time. So based on that, which is better? So you get to see the ranking. Look, Gemini is number 3 on math. So again, the link to that is going to be in the slides. It's this thing called chat.lmsys.org, lmsys.org. Is the thing, I believe, is the third slide on the chat. Use that resource. I'm telling you, you would change your relationship with how you look at comparing all these different AI models. Next thing I want to talk about is I want to discuss to you what OpenAI is doing. This is ChatGPT. What they're doing in what they're calling multi-step thinking. So instead of being a single question where it just spits an answer, it actually kind of like holds its answer. And itself, it goes through iterations of different versions of the answer. And then it goes back and reads all the different versions of its own answer and then gives you what it thinks is the final answer based on its multi-step thinking. So this will be fundamentally different than like sort of regular ChatGPT. So let's start with regular ChatGPT. This is what ChatGPT looks like if you're seeing this for the first time. There are 2 ways to get the ChatGPT. You can go to chatgpt.openai.com, or you can go straight to ChatGPT. And like a week ago, they bought chat.com for like $15 million. So I believe that at some point in the next 2 years, ChatGPT will probably be rebranded to just chat. Can you imagine that? So ChatGPT will be chat. So when people say chat this, chat that, the word chat will be synonymous with talking to an AI model. So think about that. The GPT will be dropped at some point, and most people don't even know what the GPT is. Generative, pre-transformative, something. Okay, again, it doesn't really matter, but at some point in the very near future, chat, just the word chat, C-H-A-T, will be synonymous with talking to an AI bot. So if we go to regular ChatGPT and we ask it a question, okay, like, I would just say something like, I am a CPA, I have a marketing business client that is making, let's say, $280K per year as per our latest projections. Okay, so basically I'm using this to help me. Help me set up an agenda for an advisory call with my client that includes 3 things. 1, revision of the current numbers and their economic environment. 2, tax planning opportunities. And 3, creative ways to help them as a CPA or whatever. So essentially, I just very, very free thinking, right? Like I want a ChatGPT to kind of help me set up a session with my client, and I'm telling it kind of vaguely kind of what I want. And then I'm just going to copy this because I'm going to use it in another chat to kind of show you the difference between regular ChatGPT and what they're calling the O1 model with Canvas. And when I send that, it's going to give me a suggestion for an agenda. Okay. So very simple. And one thing I want to note here, you see right here where it says memory updated. One really cool thing that ChatGPT has is every time you give it a fact about you, where you say, I am this, or I prefer this, or my favorite thing is this, anytime you use something that contextually is something that would be relevant as context in the future, it adds it what is called the memory. Now you got to be in the paid version for this part, for the memory, but then it creates an area called memories. And when I click on manage memories, it'll give me a history of every single time I've used my name or somebody's name or something that I love or something that I like or my favorite book or who I am and what my name is. So every time I do something like this, it adds it to the memory, because later on in the future, when you ask it a question, it uses that context to answer. So like even this particular answer is a little bit contextual. If you literally grab this piece of information and put it in ChatGPT yourself, you might get a slightly different answer because this is drawing from memory. So that's a really important kind of theme to keep in mind. This is why ChatGPT is so cool, because it can do that. So then go on to the answer. So it tells me, it breaks down, this is the objective. So these are the topics that it believes that you should include in your agenda. The actions is to discuss adjustments and improvement in cash flow, reduce costs, some tax planning opportunities. So this is also very, very generic. But then I can go in there and copy and paste some financial statements and say, okay, based on the financial statements that I have so far, what are your thoughts? And it'll completely change the answer. So that's the stuff that I find very interesting. So this is what we call very much straightforward ChatGPT. Now I'm going to switch to what's called ChatGPT with Canvas, and also O1 preview. And I'm going to show you these two things because actually both things are slightly different. So we're going to go with O1 preview, and actually I'm going to start a new chat. And then I'm using, again, O1 preview. This is on the paid version. And I'm going to paste that in there. Okay. And then you're going to actually see that ChatGPT is not going to give me a straight answer. It's actually going to sort of take a step back and analyze the question first. And let's call it think, but probably the wrong word to use. It's going to think about the answer that it's going to give you. And then it's going to break down and tell you what process or what thinking process, what multi-step logic it used to be able to do that. Okay, so let me send that in there, and then now what you're gonna see is, because we're in this O1 preview, you get this word that says thinking, and then it actually gives you a breakdown, and you can break it down here, and it kind of shows you this is the process that is taking to be able to think through the answer. So it thought for 11 seconds and then it started giving the answer. So it's going with charting the course, which is okay, kind of getting an overview of what it wants, clarifying guidelines, setting up an agenda. You see how it does that. So that's kind of the thinking that it goes through, and it answers itself behind the scenes in those steps. And then based on that, it gives you a brand new answer. So now you're going to see a completely different answer. It's the same tool, it's the same ChatGPT, but you see a completely different answer with this sort of thinking model. And I think it's up to you to judge which answers are better. It does take a little longer to get answers on the O1 model, but notice that it does it a little bit different. So for example, it breaks down financial performance review, and it gives you 3 bullet points to look at. It doesn't jump to conclusion immediately that you should think about cash flow like it did last time. It actually says, you know what, let's kind of think through what would be sort of the ideal version of this. And then we have economic industry, so it says discuss current economic trends. So this actually, again, this created just an overview of what the agenda items would be. So this is actually great. It's beautiful. Now, what's also really cool about ChatGPT in general, and the new O1 model doesn't have this enabled yet, but the regular version does. So I'll kind of switch back to that, which is to dig contextually into any of those particular answers. So I'm going to switch back to the regular ChatGPT, not the O1 model, because the O1 model, they're still sort of previewing, doesn't have the full functionality. But if you grab any particular topic like this, okay, so I just select it, and there's a little icon here that says reply. And essentially what you do is you reply within the text that it gives you and ask it to sort of go deep, double down on this specific area. So I click on reply, and then I can say something like, what are the typical KPIs that this type of business would measure. Okay, and then I'll send that over. So basically, I grabbed a piece of context and then I asked it a question, and then it went in there and gave me just a more detailed answer. So obviously to help me prepare for my call. So the revenue growth rate, there's gross profit margin, net profit margin, client acquisition cost, customer lifetime value, monthly recurring MRR. Again, I'm talking to a bunch of accounting professionals. I'm probably not teaching you anything new. You probably don't expect, ChatGPT to be teaching something new, but it helps you organize your thinking, which I think is actually a really, really good way to leverage the AI. Now, the other piece here is, for example, let's say client acquisition costs. Maybe I don't know so much about that, and as an accountant, maybe that's not like my area of expertise. I can reply to that and say, okay, what are the average costs and why they vary? Okay, or something like that. So I grab a specific piece of context, and then I asked it to kind of like go a little bit deeper, and then it actually goes really deep into that particular topic. So, and it's going, and again, all this stuff is very valuable because it's very industry specific. And maybe, maybe I'm not an expert in marketing businesses, or maybe I want to become an expert in marketing businesses, or maybe I'm already an expert in marketing business, and I want to make my expertise be well known by using the context that matters to them. Now, a couple of things I think are important is because some people might already at this point be on the other screen in ChatGPT and see that some features are not working the same. Because I am on the paid version, you kind of have to make sure that you go into ChatGPT and take a look at what version you have. So generally speaking, if you see all of these settings here, like for example, personalization, here's the memory checkbox. So if you don't have the paid version, you probably won't start seeing this. So there's a couple of features as you go through the settings that are only available if you have the paid version. Now the paid version, let me see if I find my billing status here. So the paid version that I have, this is the team version, and I have this with this is Carlos and I, my partner in Reframe. We pay $60 a month for 2 people, so it's $30 a person. Okay, so $30 a person. So something to think about. We are in the paid version, and again, as I mentioned it at the very beginning, it is because I don't want my data to be used to train the model. Okay, so that gives you a good idea of like ChatGPT and the new O1 preview with the new thinking engine, which is great. The other thing I want to talk about this new concept called Canvas. And Canvas is kind of a collaborative process where you're chatting with ChatGPT, and the chat is different than the output. So you're chatting, and then there's an output, and it's sort of like a dual screen going on. So I'll explain that to you. So I'm gonna say, help me write an engagement letter. Okay, I'm gonna do engagement letter. I am a CPA, but I don't do a test work, or something like that. Okay, so help me write an engagement letter. I'm a CPA, I don't do a test work, and it'll just start building the letter for me. So you see that it immediately went to like this split screen where the chat's on the left, and I continue to chat it, and the right is sort of the document. Is what we're building. Okay, so that's also super cool. So for example, I see that there's scope of services here, and then maybe I want to tell it to go deeper and say, add a section for all the things we do not do. Okay, so basically, I'm interacting with the document, right? So I'm saying add a section for all the things that we don't do, and I actually highlighted scope of work so it understands, kind of where I want the information to be. So I started here saying, thank you for selecting my firm. This letter outlines the nature and scope of work. Here's my scope of services. And then here's the things that we don't do. And immediately went in there and suggested a couple things. Okay, and it used the context of the fact that we don't do a test. So obviously it went in there and understood what does that mean. Okay, and then I can add, we don't do sales tax compliance, but do create the sales tax reports from the GL software or something like that. So we just, again, left side, just simply just chatting with the tool. And then immediately on the right-hand side, notice that it added this piece in there. So it's actually super awesome because, you're sort of kind of like in dual mode. Chatting with ChatGPT and also kind of seeing the live document. Okay. So let's add something like the fee is $2,500 a month, but payable first of the month. If they pay late, is $3,000 a month. Frame it as the $500 being a good customer discount or something like that. Okay, so again, we on the left side, we just chat, it thinks, and then I'll go back there and highlights what it changes, and it shows you everything that it changed. So our fee for this service is $2,500 payable on the first. This fee includes a $500 good customer discount for timely. If the payment's not received, the fee would be $3,000 payment. Okay, perfect. And then I can add some more, and I can say, add a disclaimer that if the account is 30 days late, we stop the work, no matter how urgent a deadline could be. Find a pretty way to explain that we cannot work for free and only our paying clients get the benefit of our full attention and resources. Okay, so again, I was very loose. I said, find a pretty way to kind of frame that in there, and it all kind of like builds it in there in the live document. This is just so awesome. It's just so cool. And then you can see right here, it says, if the account remains unpaid for 30 days, we will pause all the work. So I love that. Pause is a very like sort of PC word. Regardless of upcoming deadlines and urgency, we value all of our clients, but we cannot work for free. Only those who maintain timely payments receive the benefit of our full attention and resources, allowing us to provide the best possible service. Payment is due, okay, et cetera, okay. And then we can add something like, add that taxes are included with our services. We don't charge for tax work. We charge for the consulting / bookkeeping, but they can choose to use a different tax person. The point is to completely uncommoditize taxes or something like that. Okay, again, you add whatever context you want. So I don't even know if uncommoditize is not a word, but it will figure it out. So I'm telling you, add taxes are included, and then notice here, our services include tax preparation as part of our consulting and bookkeeping offerings. We don't charge separately for tax work. Instead, our focus is providing value through consulting and bookkeeping services. You may choose a different tax preparer if you wish, as it aims to completely commoditize tax services by integrating them into our overall financial strategy. So again, what I find just really cool and really interesting is you can sort of work in this duality. So ChatGPT is king because ChatGPT has the most amount of innovation out of all of these chatbots. And ChatGPT started earlier. ChatGPT kind of set the standard. In culture, we use ChatGPT synonymous to AI, just like we use Google synonymous to look it up on the internet, right? So when we don't say look it up in the internet, we say Google it. Just like when we don't say find out what AI says, we say ChatGPT it. So like this is why it's just important to understand the social phenomenon that ChatGPT is. So the other piece I want to show you is what they started calling Search GPT. There's a little icon here that says search the web. Now, this is the biggest blow that ChatGPT is presenting to Google, which is they want to make it a standard for people to search things on the web instead of searching via Google. So when you enable this search, it's going to be a search engine powered by AI. So it's a combination of things. So I can ask, maybe a relevant question, like, and here it just shows me here, like, what is the trend. So the trend here, because we recently had an election, is House of Representatives election 2024. So I can press something like that, and it will search the web and then use all of the websites that it went to then have one summarized piece of information. So we have the source here, CBS News. So all this information here was summarized from CBS News, and then all this information here was summarized from Politico, and then all this information here was summarized from Reuters, and then all this information here from the Sun. So it basically shows you how it's searching the web, how it's looking at different sources, and how it's creating a summarized analysis of all the sources. And then down here, you get to see all the links, the actual links for the sources, and you can click on any of them, and then it will take you to the specific website. So I really like this Search GPT function because it's really going to put at risk, Google's monopoly, for lack of a better term, that they had for a very long time, and if it's going to force Google to innovate as well. So when we talk about Google Gemini, I think you'll start seeing how is Google combating OpenAI's sort of attack in the search world. Okay. Now I'm gonna sign out of ChatGPT for a second. There's some questions about like how to log into ChatGPT, how to create an account. So you go to chatgpt.com. If you have an account, you click on login. If you don't have an account, you click on sign up. When you click on sign up, you add your email address. Okay. So whatever email address is. So I'm gonna add an email address here. Okay, this is not my real email address, but it forwards to my email address. So I kind of want to show you the process. Okay, so you just add your email address and then you create an account. I'm going to add a password here. Okay, so that's the process. I'm creating an account. So far, this is a free account. I'm not paying for this. So far, this is quite simply a free account, and I'm on ChatGPT here. So I'm gonna go and verify my email. So I'll just go into my email address. Okay, it kind of looks like this. Verify your email address. I'll click on verify email address, and then it should. So I'm gonna put Hector, and then I'll put 1/1 2000. Okay, just fake date of birth. So there's a free ChatGPT account, and you don't have to have an account, but the idea of having an account is to have a little bit of history of kind of what's going on. And with the free account allows you to do, so when I click on settings, it does allow you to do a couple things. Actually, I was wrong. Memory it seems to be available on the free account. So it looks like memory is available on the free account. You just have to create an account. There is speech. There's some data controls. So there's a couple of things that are available now in the free account. So that's actually pretty cool. Okay, but then down here in the bottom, it says upgrade plan, and then you click on that, and then it tells you what the different options are. So you can upgrade to the $20 version, or you can go into business and pay $25 a month to upgrade a team. I'm paying $30, I think, because I'm paying monthly. But if you bill annually, then it goes down to $25. Now, ChatGPT is not like sponsoring this or anything like that. I'm not telling anybody that you should go buy ChatGPT. I'm just telling you how you go about buying it. Now, when you are in the free version, you might have some restrictions. Maybe you won't search the web. As a matter of fact, I don't remember at this point if ChatGPT can search the web or not. Let me just check for a second. I can't tell because I haven't used the free version in a while. So yeah, I don't think I can search the web. So let me see. Let me ask. Let's see who won the election in 2024. Okay, and the reason why I'm asking this is because ChatGPT. Okay, so never mind. So it is searching the web. It looks like. Okay, so the free version does have a option to search the web. You just can't turn it off, which is I guess that's probably the biggest thing to think about. Again, I haven't used the free version of ChatGPT for over a year, so I'll log out, log back into my paid version, and I want to show you one more thing that's really important about the paid version, which is the custom GPTs. And we'll kind of use the custom GPTs as the comparison ground to compare with the other applications. This is by far the most powerful part of ChatGPT. If you haven't at this point kind of noticed that all really powerful. But it's called GPTs. It's just called GPTs. So when you click on Explore GPTs, you have sort of two options. One, you can go out there and search for GPTs that people already created. So I'm just going to put US taxes to see like who's created a GPT on taxes. So there's this thing called Expert on Federal Tax Law for Lawyers, has up-to-date access, over 1 million pages of, I don't know what that is. I'll click on that. So I'm logging in to somebody else's custom GPT that they made public. Okay, so I'm logging in to somebody else's GPT that they made public. So let's wait until that loads. And while that loads, I'll answer some of the live questions. So somebody said, is the search function only for paying customers? So the answer to that is choosing whether or not you will use the search function is only for paying customers, but it looks like the free version has a search function, like a sort of a Googling style type function. Okay. Somebody says, if you're playing around with ChatGPT and you create fictitious scenarios, will it update memory? So true, yes, you can update memory and you can manually delete any memory you have. Somebody says, what are some of the US GAAP technical accounting GPT models available, specifically when it comes to GAAP research? So I don't have an answer to that, James. I would say take a look at CPA Pilot or Tax GPT, which are the two like tax-centric ones. So we have cpapilot.com. So take a look at them. Again, no one's being paid to talk about these or anything like that. But there's CPA Pilot. While that loads, let me go to Tax GPT, and there's also Tax GPT. So these are the two. So I'm gonna try to see if I can go back to where I was. So the question was, is there any accountant-centric GPT models out there? And there's the two that I can think of at the moment. One is called CPA Pilot. And again, they're not sponsoring this webinar or anything like that, so you want to take a look at them. It's called AI Tax Assistant. And the other one is called Tax GPT. I think the challenge that we have with these two is that they're mostly focusing on tax. And probably the next thing that is going to be the next frontier would be things that focus on accounting, GAAP, or auditing. But it looks like these two, CPA Pilot and Tax GPT, seem to be, they're about $100 a month. They seem to be stuff that's kind of focused on accountants only. So I should go ahead and check that out. I'm going to go back to the searchable GPTs. These are the custom GPTs that people build for other people to watch. So I'm going to put US tax or something like that. And then there is, or US tax law or something like that. I forgot what it was. I was just in it. Let me see. So there was one called, we could try this one, US Tax Law Navigator. So I can click on that. And it basically tells you, okay, this is created by this person named Space64XYZ. Okay, you can click in here and kind of see what the website is. There's the ratings, and I click on Start Chat. And then this essentially puts you into a custom GPT. Again, a GPT that people built for a very, very specific purpose. So this is under where it says Explore GPTs. And you can do this with the free version and the paid version. You just can't create your own custom GPT. That's kind of the big difference. So you can explore other people's GPTs, but you can't create your own custom GPT. So there's questions like, how can home expenses be deductible? You click on that. That was basically a sort of softball question that was set up for you so you can start interacting with it. But then you can ask it any questions you want, and it's been built and taught and trained around a specific subset of data. Now you can trust this as much as you can trust anybody's random website typing anything about anything, because at the end of the day, with the data that you use to train it is something that you kind of don't control. But as you start seeing the answers and you kind of see that it's quoting specific publications, okay, then all right, so it looks like it's using like formal publications, IRS publications, to answer these. Okay, so again, we click on Explore GPTs, and then here we search anything about anything that we're looking for, and you see sort of the GPTs that other people have created and made public. Now, if you click here, it says My GPTs. These are the ones that you have created internally. Now, you could make this public, or you can just make it available to your team members. So if you're going to be loading some of this stuff with like internal know-how, of course you don't want to make this public. Or maybe you do want to make this public because maybe you want to hire some talent and you want to see people like young accountants kind of playing with GPT and seeing that your firm it's putting out their incredible content, for young accountants to think about, and then maybe it's just a branding play for your firm. So you have to think about how you're going to be using these chat GPTs. And notice that this says only me, this says anyone with a link. So you can actually choose how these custom GPTs are made public or not. So one GPT that we use a lot is called Accounting Questions Reply Bot. This is a GPT that I created. I created this GPT specifically to help me answer questions that people send me via YouTube. So I have like 1 million people sending me emails of random QuickBooks questions, and I just don't have time to read all of them. And the questions have sort of a pattern. Okay, so and I've kind of taught it to kind of detect those patterns as well. So I'm gonna go look up. I'm on the other screen right now, just in case you're wondering what I'm doing. I'm gonna look up an email from like a random person that I got recently and show you like how we use this chatbot in our practice to kind of like help us answer questions that people ask. So I'm gonna go and pull up. Okay, perfect. Here we go. So I'm gonna bring this to the right side here. So this is a random person that sent me an email, okay, and with a bunch of questions. It's like, oh, geez, that's a lot of questions. Okay, so that's a lot of data. I don't know this person. I don't have time to like read every single this email. Every 2 days, I get a long email like this with just like, honestly, just way too many data points. And I either have to tell someone, hey, if you want me to read this and think about this and give you an answer, you're gonna have to pay me. And this is kind of how we done it. Or I literally just grab the text. Okay, come back here, copy it, go into my custom chatbot that I programmed to answer questions for me automatically. Okay, paste the question in there, press enter, and I've already told the GPT specifically how I want it to answer. And I'm going to go and show you the guts of how we programmed this. So this goes and says, thank you very much for your kind words and following the videos. It's always a pleasure knowing that they're helping. And basically, I told it contextually, hey, if there's any compliments about my YouTube channel, address that really quick. That way it just feels a bit more human. Okay. And then it goes to, your apprehension is completely understandable. Moving from QuickBooks Enterprise to QuickBooks Online is a significant change. While there's clear benefits to QBO, like cloud access, et cetera, there's important for you to weigh whether or not these align well. And I kind of go through, and it actually goes through and reads the specifics of this person's email, and it actually starts answering some of the specific questions. It goes into numbers and limits and talks about specific features that you don't get in QuickBooks Online, but you do have in QuickBooks Enterprise. Things about the reports that you may lose in the process. And then there's challenges with possibly having payroll and multiple company files. So this is stuff that it would take me just a very long time to kind of like answer. But then at the end, I always conclude the emails with this answer was aided by AI, but to give you a full analysis, you're going to have to pay for a diagnostic. And by the way, most people pay between whatever, $1,500 and $2,500. So kind of keep that in mind. There's the link to consult with me. So I literally just copy this whole thing, go back into my email, click reply, paste, and boom, I'm done. So like this actually completely changed my relationship with all these random emails that come via Google, because via my YouTube videos, because now I give people really good answers, and it's not cheating per se, because you're like, oh, Hector, you're not giving people real answers. Well, yes and no, because I've actually spent a whole year to learn how to use the AI models to build the perfect prompt that will most likely give someone 90% accuracy on these answers. And these people should be sort of feeling blessed that I actually took my time to build this and give them a really good set of answers, instead of saying, I'm not even going to answer this until you pay me. So think about what that might mean to the future of your practice. Think about maybe at some point, these custom GPTs are tied to your website maybe, and there is a chatbot in the website, and you're actually answering actual emails, actual questions about tax or bookkeeping or QuickBooks or whatever. And it's all happening, and you're adding value by not doing a whole lot of work. So let's talk about how I built it, because that's what you're wondering. Okay, Hector, how do you build this thing? So I'm gonna click here on edit, and I'm gonna show you the guts of it, and then I'm gonna go and build one from scratch. Okay, so it's a very important piece. So when you go and build a custom GPT, essentially you have to give it a name. So it's called Accounting Questions Reply Bot. You give it a description, which I have it here, replies to common accounting and tax questions for Hector Garcia, CPA. And I don't make this public. This is only for me and my firm. And then this is the prompt that I gave it. So I'll read this to you. The GPT's role is to assist Hector Garcia, CPA, in answering questions from people online, particularly on QuickBooks, accounting, and tax-related matters. It should begin by acknowledging compliments or mentions of Hector's YouTube channel, followers, or reputation. That's the pattern, right? Like all the emails say, hey, you do great, your videos are great, whatever. So I want to make sure that it acknowledges that so it feels a bit more human. If the user mentions their website or business, GPT should use its browsing capabilities to gather relevant details to customize the response. That's a kicker because a lot of people have in their signature their website. So it actually goes in there and kind of reads the website and it kind of gets some context in terms of what type of business they're in. And this person that emailed me, it's probably in the business of dealing something with inventory. And that is probably why it said, by the way, sales orders might be something that might not work with you, that will work against you because QBO doesn't have that. So that's kind of like the context. Then it says the GPT should summarize the question. So it actually goes in at the end. And where is my answer? Let me just go back to. I'll go back to the answer in a second. But it summarizes the question. So I kind of go in the top. It says, "This is what you're asking me." Then make sure to specify what QuickBooks version is in the question. So if not explicitly stated, assume it's QuickBooks Online unless there's clues indicating otherwise. So Desktop, Pro, Premiere, something like that. It will then provide a short, clear answer to the query, citing ChatGPT as a source. That's why it says it may be aided by AI. If there's a relevant link and likely solution, include it. Okay. After providing a solution, disclaim the generic answer above may be aided by AI, and it will require having an expert sitting down in front of the problem to give a really good answer. Then it says the response should follow with the fact that there's a diagnostic fee, and in order to get a thorough answer, also explain that that diagnostic is creditable to any projects over 1,800. Again, that's my own firm philosophy. Additional inform users what they expect to pay for a year, and let them know this is not a quote. This is just basically a general idea. And then all the emails should say, next step, schedule a diagnostic. Here's the link. So believe it or not, as simple as this prompt is, it took tons of trial and error to get it right. And it's gotten to a point where we grab all these emails, these leads that come in, and we're actually replying with this. And I go back and read them and go, holy crap, that answer is better than what I would have given if I would have sat there and kind of thought about the answer. So, and I'm not saying you should automate this. I'm saying maybe this could be a starting point, and then you can go in there and change whatever little details of the email that you want to change. So that's kind of the value of custom GPTs. You can do all sorts of really interesting things. So I'm going to build a new custom GPT, one that might be a little bit more dear to your heart, which is we're gonna build a pricing tool. So I'm gonna call it bookkeeping cleanup services pricing tool. Okay, that's what I'm calling it, and it's a tool to help me price bookkeeping cleanup work. That's simple. So then I'm gonna go into the instructions, and then I'm gonna say this GPT analyzes. This GPT, so let's start with this GPT analyzes as much detail as possible about the client that I am taking in. Ask these types of questions, and I'm going to start putting the questions to ask. Annual revenue. Are they profitable? If so, how much? How many employees? Do they manage payroll themselves? Do they outsource payroll? Okay. 4, how many bank accounts, credit cards, loans. 5, do they need dimensional reporting like classes, locations, or projects? How many months are behind the last reconciled clean period? Are they on QB desktop or online or something like that? Okay. And again, you are going to tell it what you want to have, and this is just a text portion. You can actually upload documents. You can upload, tax documents. You can upload internal know-how documents about your firm. You can maybe upload quotes that you've done in the past and kind of some of the details of how long it took you or whatever. So you can upload all sorts of data, but I'm just making it very, very high level, so you kind of know that. So the next step is, okay, so pricing. So I'm gonna go to pricing philosophy. Okay, so we're gonna start and telling the pricing philosophy. So my pricing philosophy is $1,500 minimum, no matter what. Okay, 3 years worth. Let's do 2 years worth equals $2,500 minimum. 3 years plus is $3,500 minimum. Okay, again, we're just doing the pricing philosophy for up to a year of work. Okay, or something like that. Okay, so we started with just minimum pricing philosophy. Okay, second is if QB desktop, add 20% premium. Okay, and it could be the other way too, right? Depending on what you want to do. So we can do if not profitable, add a 10% premium. Again, that might be counterintuitive. Like, wait, they're not profitable, you're gonna charge them more? Yeah, maybe. Like non-profitable businesses, in my opinion, are much more painful than the profitable ones for a myriad of reasons. And that's what you're doing. You're adding your pricing philosophy. You're adding your experience, your personality, what you've seen, what you understand about the market that you serve, and that you're gonna price accordingly. So payroll, add, let's say $100 per employee at least, but not if it's outsourced. Okay, something like that. And then we can go bank accounts under 3, no premium, between 3 and 10, add, let's say, at least $500 a month or whatever it is. More than 10, use your judgment, but at least $600 plus per month. Okay, you can adjust all these things as you want them. So accounts / loans. Okay, then we can add more premium. We can say if PayPal, add 20% premium. Okay, we can just add that in there. Okay, and then we have dimensional reporting, add 30% premium. And then let's do, okay, that's good enough. Okay, so that's it. That's good enough. So I'm just adding just very light pricing philosophy. You can do all sorts of creative things in here. I'll close that out. And at this point, I just click on create. And that's it. It's done. My pricing tool is done. As a kind of an added bonus here, I'm going to click on anyone with a link. And then, I don't know if I can, in the Q&A, in the chat, can I put this chat anywhere? You said the chat is disabled. Let me see if I can paste that in there. Jason, quick question. Can I copy a link? Can I paste a link in there? Is there something that people can see in the chat? Can people see? I put in the chat. I put a link in the chat. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm actually just making it available for you to see that. So can you click on the link in the chat? I just put it in the chat. Just want to make sure that you can. Yeah, so I'm just basically literally showing you live what I'm building. So you should be able, if you have a ChatGPT account, even a free one, you should be able to go into the pricing tool and kind of see how it works. So you saw me build it. You saw me build it. And I'm a big fan of ChatGPT because of this. And then I'll do the last kind of half an hour. I'll show you this exact same construction process, thought process in the other tools. So you kind of go, oh, okay, I see that I have multiple options to kind of do the same thing. So you can click on that link as long as you have a ChatGPT account, even the free one, you should be able to go to it. And then you can say, okay, help me price this new client. His name is Clint, and he is a let's say a roofing contractor with 400K of revenue behind 1 year in their books or something like that. Okay, so you start very light, kind of just go really sort of high level, okay, and then it starts summarizing things for you, and then it's going to tell you, look, I'm going to ask you a few additional questions. Again, I programmed it to work this way, and I want you to visualize, if you're a solo practitioner, download all your know-how into this thing and then help you think through a price. And it's just this is just one example of what you can do with a custom GPT. I'm trying to give you all these different ideas. So let's say yes. Let's say yes. So, and what's really cool is also you have 5 questions. So you can just go 1 equals yes, then 2 equals 10 with ADP, comma, 3 equals 4 banks and 2 credit cards. 5 equals QBO, and actually that's 4. So 4 equals QBO, and then 5 equals project. Okay, so again, being very vague here. And then just with those 5 answers, this thing is going to actually go through and use the analysis. So it says, okay, so it looks like the base cleanup is $1,500. It's profitable, so no additional premium. They're using payroll, so no additional premium. Here's a $500 premium because it went over the number of bank accounts. There's a 40% premium on dimensional reporting. Therefore, it's suggesting that you charge $2,600 or something like that. And then you can get even more fun and say, give me 3 options. 26 is the starting point. Give it a funky name based on their industry, and give option 2 with a higher premium scope, and option 3 as the gold standard with the most VIP like service. And then press enter, and then it grabs your baseline and it gives you the 3 options. So there's the patch up plan, $2,600. So it actually took both the concept of cleanup and also the concept of construction or contractor or whatever. Then option 2, the weatherproof package, it goes up to $3,200, and it says, it's got some, higher end services here, maybe some quarterly review sessions, maybe some mid-year forecasting, and here's $4,500 for the Fortress Roof VIP plan. So actually, it's really, really awesome. Okay, all right. So this is like the power of ChatGPT, which is the baseline. All other chat systems are actually sort of a copy of ChatGPT. Let's start with Claude. I'm gonna go to Claude, and again, I've done webinars where I go pretty deep into Claude. Claude works just like ChatGPT, where you ask it a question, it answers back. There's 2 really important pieces of Claude that you gotta keep in mind. One thing that two things that Claude doesn't do. One, Claude cannot generate images. ChatGPT can. And the second one is Claude cannot search the web. And that's a really important one, because if I ask who won the 2024 election, unless they added it recently or something like that, it shouldn't know the answer, okay? And it tells you, I don't know the answer because the most information that I have is April 2024, and that's an important piece of it. Claude doesn't search the web. Claude is taught up to a certain amount, a certain date, and it says the election won't take place until November 5th, and obviously we know the election already happened because this webinar went live after the election. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Claude doesn't have that, but Claude has other really cool things. So I'm going to go into Claude and I'm going to go into projects. And projects is Claude's answer to OpenAI's custom GPTs. So I'm going to go to create project, okay? And this is the same thing as ChatGPT. So create project. I'm just going to copy and paste here to save some time. So we have the name of the project. It's called the Bookkeeping Cleanup Tool. And this is Claude.ai, by the way. Claude.ai is the domain name. So Claude.ai. And now what I'm trying to achieve, then I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to copy this stuff over here and paste it and go to create project. Okay. So we are in the same exact starting point at this point as ChatGPT with a custom GPT. I just gave it a name. And now what I want to do is I want to add what's called the project knowledge. So I can click on set custom instructions. And here's where I would paste the exact same information that I used to build the instructions for this bot. So I'm going to click on copy. And then I'm going to come here to Claude and I'm going to paste that. Okay. And then click on save instructions. And there we go. That's it. That's all I have to do. So it's actually like sort of cleaner, to do this in Claude. And Claude is, I believe it's $20 a month, and I do pay for Claude Pro. And so as long as I have that custom instructions, and also I can click on add content and I can upload any documents that I want. So if I actually have some additional internal know-how in PDF or whatever, I can upload that and it can use that as a reference. So how can Claude help you today? So then I'm going to come here and just click back here for a second. And I'm going to go in there and copy and paste the same exact prompt because I want you to see kind of apples to apples. And then I'm going to paste that in there and then hit send. And then we're going to see how Claude approaches this. Okay. So now I started saying, I'll help you analyze Clint's business. I will go through questions and apply your pricing philosophy. And this is the only information that it knows, it looks like. Okay. And then it says, I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions. So, okay. So do you know if the business is profitable? So I'm going to say one, not profitable, second year in business, funded by SBA loan. I am changing the answers a little bit. Okay, so 2, let's see the next one. Are they currently using desktop or online? I'm going to say desktop enterprise contractor edition. Okay, next one, 3 equals, let's see how many employees do they have. They have 5 and using QB desktop payroll. Then we go to 4 and it says, it's asking me bank account. So let's say 2 banks, 8 credit cards. We all have customers like that. One loan and no PayPal. One loan and no PayPal. Okay, and then we have question number 5. Let's do project tracking and classes or something like that. Okay, and then I'm gonna hit and then say question 6. Would you like me to start showing you how to approach? Yeah, sure. I can say yes. So question 6, yes, whatever that question is. So I hit send, and then I'll start analyzing, and then start giving me a price. So it actually goes through same type of reasoning. Okay, so we got a base price of $1,500. We're charging 20% of the base because it's QuickBooks Desktop, 10% because they're not profitable, $500 because they're using QuickBooks Desktop. So sorry, very similar. 11 accounts in total, and falls into a higher category. So there's an extra $600 there. Dimensional reporting. Okay, so adding an extra 600. So then it goes to the calculation, and then it says total is $3,650. Okay, And then I can say, give me two options. This is the baseline and one super premium that includes the tax returns and advisory. Use your judgment based. I'm going to put use your judgment based on the fact that after 1 year, we will help him be profitable another 100K or something like that. So again, it's doing its own sort of thinking. Okay, so there's my baseline package, which is based on the pricing philosophy. Here's everything that that it includes, and then here is a premium advisory and package, which is $6,500 a year, and it kind of breaks down, that there is a tax services included, and it gives it a value, which is pretty cool. And then advisory services, and it gives it a value, and then a profit growth plan, which gives it a value. And then here's a presentation for Clint. So Claude's actually better at wording. It actually started just saying, hey, this is what your email should look like. So, hey, Clint, I prepared 2 options for you. Here we go, and here's the option. So imagine how much more effective you're going to be at presenting pricing, presenting options, presenting your value proposition if you're using Claude to be your enhancer, or you're using ChatGPT to be your enhancer. Let's take a look at the same exact concept in Google Gemini. And I wanted to start with ChatGPT and spend a long time with that, because that's most likely the tool that you're going to be using. But I wanted to now give you the context across all the different versions. For XYZ reason, you might be more inclined towards using Claude or ChatGPT. I'm going to tell you something. Long story short, I like Claude whenever wordsmithing is going to be important. And this actually was a great example. It immediately wrote, without me asking, it wrote a way to write the email, or a script for me to present my options. Like, Claude understands that the AI is supposed to help you communicate better. Where ChatGPT, it's more of trying to give you the answer, or trying to give you the right answer. But Claude is actually built into its logic is the point of using Claude is so we become better communicators. So I like that a lot. I like that philosophy that they have. Now, Gemini is Google's version of this. I do pay for this as well. I believe it's $24 a month, something like that, around there. Again, none of these companies are sponsoring this, nor I'm asking everybody that they should pay for anything, but I'm going to show you why Google Gemini is different. Now, Google Gemini has this thing called the Gem Manager. The Gem Manager, and kind of play on the word Gemini and gems, the Gem Manager are the custom GPTs. They're the custom chatbots. They're the custom sort of AI concept that you build. I'm gonna go to New Gem, and a lot of these things are gonna they're gonna feel very familiar. So let me collapse this, and then I'm gonna go and do the same thing I did. So let's go back and edit the custom GPT. I'm gonna copy the name. Okay, that way I don't have to reinvent the wheel. And then I go back and take the custom instructions that I wrote. Okay, and I'm gonna paste that. Okay, and then that's good. And I'm gonna say at the end, do a Google search and show some resources that prove to the customer that this type of work is very valuable and that our rates are extremely competitive. Okay, so I'm gonna leverage the power of Google because I'm using Google Gemini, period. Okay, that's kind of like when you think of why would I use Google instead. So there is a free version of Google Gemini, but the custom chatbots and the fact that they don't use your know-how to feed their engine, that's only available in the paid version. So it's important to sort of point out. Okay, so I'm in Google Gemini. I go to Gem Manager. Now I have my bookkeeping cleanup pricing tool. I click in there. So now I'm ready to use this. Now, what I haven't figured out, and I'll just be honest with you, I haven't figured out how to share this, like how to make this chatbot available to like the public. So for now, I think that these custom gems are only available for like your internal team. Um, not necessarily something that that you can make public. Maybe they'll add that in the future. Kind of, who knows? Okay, so let me just go back here, and just so I don't have to retype thing, I'm just gonna go again and type the use case, right? Which is, help me price this new client. His name is Clint, roofing contractor, 400K in revenue, behind 1 year in the books. And then you're gonna see Google has its own sort of approach. Again, at this point, all these things start kind of looking very familiar, and then I can start answering. So I'm just gonna kind of sort of copy and paste these. Okay, so I'm gonna copy these, I'm gonna paste it, and then I'll just answer. So I'm gonna say yes, and then I'm gonna put here 12 using paychecks, and I'm gonna put 2 banks and 7 credit cards and a PayPal account. Dimensional reporting, I'm gonna say project tracking. Then I put QBO plus an app called Notify, in parentheses, which I don't know how to use. So add a premium for my learning curve. I didn't even tell her what the premium should be. I just literally said add a premium for my learning curve. So again, I'm just trying to like give you like so many sort of real life scenarios where you sort of like thinking on the fly that even your super well tight built pricing tool or custom GPT doesn't necessarily have that. And the other thing that's important to keep in mind is there's no such thing as memory in Gemini or Claude. This memory feature is only on ChatGPT. I see some questions on the live chat on that. And I'll go back, and if I have a few minutes, I can talk about that in a second. So here we go. So I gave you some information about the project, about the customer, and then it went in there and again summarized everything that's going on here because of the different answers I gave. And then here's all the math. And in this case, I think I'm liking Gemini better. In this case, it's pricing this as 12,200. Now I wonder why, in this case they did it differently. Like one of the things that you could definitely tell here is that some of the instructions I gave it is to add the premiums in a monthly basis, whereas the other chats didn't understand that they had to multiply it times 12. So maybe that's something that I have to maybe go back into my instructions. Google read between the lines and understood that these premiums were per month, not a one-time fee. So that's something to kind of think about, and Google sort of cut that. And again, this is why it's cool. You got the sleeping giant, Google doing this, and then it says important considerations, value pricing, emphasize on the value you bring to the business. So it's really cool. It starts giving me advice on how to manage this. So highlight your willingness to learn, Notify. This demonstrates your commitment to excellent service and specific needs. Offer payment options to manage the cost. So maybe I can say I can do that, and then it gives you here backup to back up the value. Here are some. It doesn't give me the URLs for some reason. Let me see. What are the URLs from Google to back up the claim that this is high value work? So somehow it didn't give me the. So I guess it found a couple of articles, but didn't give me the links. So it somehow it didn't. I don't know why you would use Google and not be able to leverage that, but then it goes in there and says, search these terms. So maybe it's actually, so in this particular case, what it's doing is it's giving me help. It's guiding me through how I can go find those links. I'm not sure why a Google product wouldn't go and search. It did say where to look, and it gives me a couple of links here of different websites I can look at. So it did help, but it maybe wasn't as helpful as maybe possibly it wanted to be on the Google side. So maybe they're still working on that. A couple of things that are very Google specific that are worth it is you can click on this share and export, and you can click on draft in Gmail, which I think is really cool. So I can click on draft in Gmail, and then basically, if you use Gmail, you click on open Gmail, and it will start an email for you. Okay, on those answers. And maybe that's not what I want to draft an email, but it just gives you an idea of how you can grab any of the information that you're working with in Gemini and ask it to share and export. Okay, you can also modify the response and say make it shorter, more casual, more professional. So I can say simpler, and I'll go in there and give me a simpler answer. Okay, and the other really cool thing that I like about Google Gemini, and this stuff is gonna blow up in the next couple months, is this thing called settings, and you click on extensions, and they're gonna be adding all sorts of extensions that link your complete ecosystem of Google Workspace for Gemini. So for example, I'm gonna go and create a new chat, and then I'm gonna put @ and then when I put the @ sign, it tells me which of the Google apps I wanna integrate with, which is really cool. So I can go to Gmail and say which client I have that does manufacturing or something like that. Now, I might not show the answer because I don't want to give away who my clients are or whatever, but this is literally going through my email, reading all my emails, and this is why this is the paid version that's associated with that. So, reading all my emails, and it's going to do based on what I asked. It's actually going to go back and give me the answer, which I find is just fascinating. What it can do. Obviously, this is going to take a long time for it to read the emails, but it just gives you sort of a window into the power of an AI platform that's also tied to that. So here you go. So it's telling me, client A does this, client B does that, client C does that, and there's actually all that. And you can click on this and actually go to the specific email where that it used to understand, or to read to know that. So imagine this is something that's sort of next level, because I remember that 4 years ago I talked to a person about something to do with some software of some concept, and I have to go and do all these weird things in Gmail to try to find it. Now I can have it just read through my own email and find information for me. So and this is just the beginning. So this stuff is really powerful stuff. And also I have documents. So for example, let me go to Google Docs. So I'll go to Google Docs here really quick and show you. So I have all sorts of documents that I've created over the last 15 years I've been practicing. And then I can go into any particular project. So I can go to this one. Okay, let me just open it. And then I can click on the little, right here, the gem button here. It says Ask Gemini. Okay, so I wrote this guide called Exactly What to Say for Accountants Implementation Guide, which is a manual to a particular method of communicating that Carlos and I co-developed with the author of a book called Exactly What to Say. And we actually built an entire methodology for this. And I can query the document. So I can come in here and say, what if my client says I am too expensive? How do I reply to that? Okay, and again, you if you don't know what this document is about, it's kind of difficult to understand contextually. But this is a document that talks about how to communicate with your clients, type of thing. So I asked the question sort of live while I'm on the document, and then I don't have to go search the document. It will use the power of AI to read the document, to understand the context, and give me that answer. So here we go. So it says here, before you make your mind up, can we explore a specific value you're looking at so we can tailor a solution that fits your budget? Just out of curiosity, what makes you feel services are too expensive? Perhaps we can discuss scope and service. What makes you say that? I'm interested in understanding your perspective on value versus cost, et cetera, et cetera. So this is context that comes from the document that we built, but then you can have, your just live with this Google Gemini. You can interact with any documents. You can interact with sheets, with slides, all sorts of things, and it's just super powerful. I mean, I can't contain my excitement on how cool this is. So we have Gemini.google.com. If you want to check out Gemini, they do have a free version, but these custom gems are only on the paid version. Then we have Claude.ai. They have a free version, but the Claude Projects is only available in the paid version. And then we have ChatGPT.com, which is going to it's gonna have a free version, but all the custom stuff is only available on the paid version. With that, I would love to talk about this stuff forever, but all great things must come to an end. Let me open up my slides one more time so we can wrap this up. And once again, thank you very much, CPA Academy. I'm just gonna like sort of fast forward a little bit to the last couple of slides. I do have in the last couple of slides some video resources of videos that I like that are really good for you to learn this stuff contextually. I have specific videos that compare ChatGPT with Claude, which are my two favorite at the moment. There's my email address if anything was missed, if you have a wish list for something to cover on future webinars. I'm doing these things once a month, once every 2 months with CPA Academy. And of course, if you're interested on coming hang out with me next year and talk about the amazingness of AI and how we price our services better with confidence, come join me at Reframe 2025. There's my email. Any questions about AI, Reframe, whatever, it doesn't matter. Contact me. I'm here to serve the accounting industry and help you get closer to the world of AI and help you transform. Let's transform the industry together. I guess that's the last note I'll say. Jason, take it away.